enhancement and improvement in your process capability. But organizations don't run only on process capability, right? Process capability gives you advantage, it gives you competitive advantage. But can process capability by itself give you long-term success in your marketplace? And that's where the PCMM comes in. So while the CMMI focuses on the bottom layer of the pyramid, the PCMM tries to address the one in between. And what the PCMM and the CMMI therefore together give us is the ability to compete in the marketplace through what is known as the core competencies of the organization. And the core competency, this concept of core competencies actually is very well explained by a person who passed away very recently. He was a management guru as long as he was alive, C.K. Prahlad. So C.K. Prahlad and a colleague of his, they have a paper where they explain how organizations can define, recognize, build, sustain, and use core competencies to succeed long-term in the market in which they operate. So that is where, how do those core competencies get built? How do they get sustained? By using the building blocks of the CMMI and the PCMM. And when I say PCMM and CMMI, I'm not referring to people being assessed or not assessed. You know, being assessed is an external verification of what you have done. Right? You can do a lot of things on your own, even without being assessed. So what we are going to talk about and what we are describing today is about implementing practices and deriving benefits from what you do rather than being assessed. So being assessed is fine. It's good that you are assessed. That's an external verification and it gives you more confidence. It gives you an objective validation of your capability, which is important. So let's look at the CMMI and the PCMM. There's a loose wire here. I remember Cyprian's statement this morning. Let's look at the CMMI and the PCMM levels. Do they look very balanced in the way they move up? So at the initial level, there is very little. There's almost nothing to talk about. At the next level, certain basic practices. So in the CMMI, you have project management practices. In the PCMM, you have certain basic people management practices. And then you move to defined, where things are consistent across the organization. So the way these, and finally you go to optimizing, continuous improvement, and so on. So the way these models are built are also very symmetrical in their structure. And what we are going to talk about in the rest of this session, we are proposing that organizations look at these two models as complementary to each other. And if you use them in conjunction with each other as building blocks for supporting process with people and people with process, organizations can, in our opinion, derive sustainable competitive advantage in their market. So to look at this, and as I said right in the beginning, this is no rocket science. This is simplistic, commonsensical stuff. It's a simple representation of what could possibly be very complex. Let's look at a 9 blocks framework of the CMMI and the PCMM together. Let's look at organizations which could be in any one of these 9 blocks. An organization that has almost no focus on processes and no focus on people capabilities. So if there is success in that organization, it's a miracle, right? God is great. Such an organization can succeed in the short term. Long term, very unlikely. You move towards the process side, and there is a box that we have chosen to call insensitive assembly line. Practices are repeatable, they're defined. You churn out projects day after day, month after month. There may be quite a bit of predictability in what you do, but you have no focus on your people. So your developer, who is a good developer today, helps you achieve success on your projects today. Because the developer does not see anything for himself or herself tomorrow, your success is likely to be short-lived, because your focus is asymmetrical. Let's go to the box. The box on top there, on the left side. Great focus on people. So competencies are defined, people are assessed for their competencies, they know how they'll grow, career development plans. Performance management processes are structured, defined, they work, they're tied to the competencies, recruitment is tied to competencies, workforce planning is tied to competencies, work development is tied to competencies. So this is an organization which seems to have got the people focus right. But unfortunately, it has no focus on processes. So what are we likely to see in such an organization? Benevolent mess. It's a very benevolent organization. People working in that organization are likely to be very happy with possibilities that exist, but they may not see many of those possibilities becoming reality, because the organization has very little focus on processes, and therefore its ability to satisfy its customers on a long-term basis is low. If you don't satisfy your customers, business becomes a trickle. And if that happens, not much future for the people. So it's again not a symmetrical state. Let's look at the one on top here now. No focus on processes, but this organization is almost reaching the highest level of people capability focus. So the workforce competency focus is very high. The organization must be having great practices. People must be very happy with what they see around them. But because of the low focus on processes, again, not a sustainable state. And those people must be lost because they see a lot of opportunities, they see a lot of possibilities. They see that a lot can happen to them in their careers, in the way they grow, in the way they develop, in the way the organization itself builds its people capabilities. They must be proud of working with each other. But because of the low focus on processes, their business may not be supporting this kind of a dream, aspiration. And therefore, it's a lost world where people are lost. They don't know what's happening because a lot can happen, but nothing ever seems to happen on the business front. On the other side, if we go to the box on the right, which we have chosen to call Taj Mahal, you know the good thing about the Taj Mahal, it looks very beautiful from the outside, right? So when you see it from the outside, it looks very good. You go in, things look quite fine. But have you ever heard anybody's postal address being Taj Mahal? No one lives there, right? So this kind of an organization would be